Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, a rant announcement of a new series of vids that I might have to indulge in because of the general stupidity of the mass populace. And then we'll do a short vid. I've got a few more to do. I am live streaming tonight. I'm just putting it off to a little bit later than usual because I need to get these vids done. Because tomorrow, cat sitting. Tuesday, Silver Dollar City. And Wednesday, back on the phone. So, let's get to it, shall we? Why am I ranting? Because a certain idiot by the name of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan have decided to indulge a conspiracy crackpot by the name of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, the majority of us wrote him off years ago after his idiocy of how the MMR vaccine so-called causes autism was debunked over and over and over again, numerous times, with various different studies coming from universities and labs all over the world. But now we apparently live in a world where reason, logic, and science has become the bad guy. Where the autisms are just such the scary boogeyman that people don't care if we bring things back like the iron lung. What brought this about was apparently Rogan brought Robert F. Kennedy Jr. onto his podcast, where, as he has been for the last 3 decades, started showing his insane nonsense. A doctor of high repute, I might add, called them out on this. Then Rogan, being the asshole that he is, decided to harass this person and say, but I want a real life debate on my show about why the vaccines are good. Trigger warning, cursing. Fucker, look at the data. Because data doesn't care about politics. Data doesn't care about cult of personality. Data is cold, hard, non-feeling facts. And the data is this, folks. Circa early 2000s, late 90s, diseases that used to wipe out entire populations. If you don't believe me, pick up a history book sometime, such as smallpox, measles, whooping cough, rubella, polio, were almost completely eradicated because of the advent of vaccines. After the insanity that got started mid-90s because of a now disgraced doctor by the name of Andrew Wakefield, there was this explosion of pseudoscience where this idea MMR vaccine causes autism caused 2 major things to happen. Creating the mega monolith of insanity that clocks in millions of dollars every year in snake oil sales for removing the mercury from my body. Number 2, all the diseases I just mentioned made a comeback. And they're still coming back, folks. The numbers are slowly increasing every single year because people are so goddamn afraid of what they think autism is that they would rather risk public safety than that their kid might actually have the autisms. They are individuals who have been damn near brainwashed by the media and everybody else that they would rather their kid be dead from a disease that not that long ago was almost wiped off the map entirely than to be a healthy child that is autistic. Numbers and data don't lie. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about cult of personality. Okay? Now, because of COVID and everybody losing their damn minds, because they would rather rely on people like Trump and this crackpot over here, crackpot who believes, by the way, that Wi-Fi causes cancer. This is the guy who's leading in the polls. We live in this world now, apparently. Are more believed when it comes to diseases and issues like this than the doctors, the scientists who've been studying these things for decades. Men with no doctorate degrees, no history in the practice of medicine, who, as far as I know, have never gone to meet the individuals that are still remaining among us that used to live in iron lungs. These are the people I'm supposed to trust. You can scream Big Pharma all you want to, but you want to know who's a bigger monolith that nobody talks about? Big pseudoscience. They rake in millions of dollars every year, grifting off of the false hopes and insanity that people like this inspire. The reality is you have a man leading in the polls who would play Russian roulette with public safety because of his own brainwashed insanity. I actually did a thread on this on Twitter. This is what we are risking bringing back. And I will go in more detail during the series because I know I got to get this video and a few others done and then I'm streaming tonight. But I just want to drive home what we are risking when we indulge this madness. Hold on a second, sorry. Granted, ignore that treat. Let me pull it up for you. Here's the thread. This is what we risk bringing back, folks. Want to know what this is? This is something my mom had to study in school when she was going for her radiology technology. She also had to study some of the other parts of medicine. You know what this is, folks? This is an iron lung. This is a device that was used massively when polio epidemics were the norm. This is what Robert Kennedy Jr. wants to bring back because of the tisms. This is what he wants to bring back. But wait, there's more. Know what this is, folks? You see that hand there? Want to know what that is? What this article is? That smallpox posed to make a comeback. I know what this article is about. 40 million children susceptible to whooping cough. Measles, which may seem like, oh, Tiffany, that's not a threat. You ever know how when diseases come back and mutate, they come far more dangerous than they were before? For example, those of us who've had chickenpox in our lives who are at risk for shingles later. This is reality, folks. This is not a game. This isn't politics. This is public health. If we indulge this man, if we put him in that office, we risk a public safety hazard that hasn't been seen since the 30s. That is reality. I know this because over half of my family work in healthcare. My mother, my cousin's wife, my cousin, my brother, on time to time, that is. He's working Amazon these days. But you see my point. When COVID was going on, when people are so scared of the dangerous vaccines, those beds were at capacity. My brother and my mom maybe got 2 hours of sleep. My mom's a radiologist. Granted, I'll give you that. Radiology technologist. You know how many broken bones one can get when they are so sick, so out of breath, so unable to have clear thoughts that they can't even walk or move properly? Yeah. This isn't a game. This isn't politics. This isn't cult of personality. This is not Republican versus Democrat. This is public safety on the line. I need you folks to understand this. I need you to get angry. I need you to vote. Now to the disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so please read that article and share it on all your social media. We also have included in their NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also linked in there, the Ozarks' first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation, a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and folks, that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and trying and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job. And you've got a governor who's off his nut. So folks, please send help, read that article, share it on all your social media. Also included in there, all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, which we'll be reading directly from today. Jennifer Maseba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses. A clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. The templates in the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please use your headphones, all right? This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion. We speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is advised, all right? Okay, so this is from a book that has been written by Jan Nisbet with contributions from Nancy R. Wise and forward by Shane M. Neuremiah and Lydia Brown, who created this massive archive. It's called Pain and Shock in America, Politics, Advocacy, and the Controversial Treatment of People with Disabilities. So this is not just going to be about the JRC, folks. It's just they're going to be one of the primary examples. JRC should be front and center as to why you should be looking into your candidates, folks. Okay? And if you think that pseudoscience isn't at least as corrupt as Big Pharma, I'm going to need you to wake up and start paying attention. But let's read the excerpt. Again, we're going to keep it short and sweet. The first book to be written on the Judge Rotenberg Center and their use of Aversives in the treatment for children with disabilities. This is circa 2021, folks. For more than 20 years, professionals in the field of disability studies have engaged in debates over the use of aversive interventions such as electric shock, like the ones used at the Judge Rotenberg Center. Advocates and lawyers have filed complaints and lawsuits to both use them and ban them. Scientists have written hundreds of articles for and against them, and people with disabilities have lost their lives, and some would say lived their lives because of them. So this is going to bring up something that I want to just remind people of real quickly. Those articles that are in favor of it, that are not from the JRC, date from circa 1980s and back. From that time period forward, I have not seen a single article, document, or peer review study done on the subject that has been done outside of the JRC and their paid shills. The testimonies of how it so-called saves lives comes from parents. Now, am I yelling at parents? No, not even close. Whether your kid is autistic, disabled, or not, parenting is tough. And in this day and age, it's just getting tougher. That being said, though, parents are human beings, which means parents are flawed. You have some people who are parents who have no business having children. These people want to live in their fantasy that this is saving their kid's life because they don't want to deal with the reality of it. They don't want to hear that there are other programs out there that they could get their kiddos to that could also save their lives without torturing them. Just wanted to put it out there. There are families who believe deeply in the need to use aversive to control their children's behavior. There are others who believe the techniques used are torture. All of these families have children who have been excluded from numerous educational and treatment programs because of their behaviors. For most of the families, placement at the Judge Rotenberg Center is the last resort. Here we go again. This is the line. This is the lie that even the media buys. None of this is true, folks. None of it. These so-called programs that these kids were being expelled from are ABA centers. People who operate under the same false premise that the JRC does, except they don't shock kids into compliance. ABA can never work on a large scale and in a meaningful way. It's because all it does is target behaviors, and that's all. They do so through aversives, and just because they aren't physically harmful doesn't mean they are not aversive. For example, a common thing that they tell families to do is remove affection from the child if they're having a behavior. If you are not acting in a neurotypical manner, they suggest removal of affection. You heard that right. Not allowing someone to eat until they act like a neurotypical. It sounds reasonable when they call it behaviors. They use this vague term for a reason. Because most people in a popular public mindset will automatically think that those are the violent, uncontrollable behaviors. But that's not all it's about. It's about if I info dump, as I am predisposed to do, most of us on the spectrum are, ADHD, autism, or otherwise. If I stim in a way that makes people uncomfortable, if I do anything that is considered outside the norm and can't be explained away, that is called a behavior. It is written down on a piece of paper and then will follow me around for the rest of my goddamn life. And being asked every doctor visit, are we working on these? When was the last time you had this behavior? Makes me want to put a fist through a wall. That's the actual reality of it. The term behaviors makes all of us flinch is because it is a term that is used to control us. Yeah. But let's finish this. This book is a historical case study of the Judge Rotenberg Center, named after the judge who ruled in favor of keeping its doors open to use aversive interventions. It chronicles and analyzes the events and people involved for over 40 years that has contributed to the inability of the state of Massachusetts to stop the use of electric shock and other severe forms of punishment on children and adults with disabilities. It is a long story, sad and tragic and complex. It's not complex. I hate when people do that. I hate when people do that. Understand me. Because every time they say it's complex, what they really mean is like, but you gotta see the side of the parents. You're only looking through your own eyes. Jeez, Karen, maybe because my own eyes is the only fucking pair that I have. Because it's you talking about me, Karen. It's you talking about people like me. It's about people shouting us down for decades on end, for daring speaking up for ourselves. And the few times that they do, they will then try to silence us, but telling us, but it's complex, and you're just not seeing the other side of the story. I've seen the other side of the story, Karen. And for the love of God, do not scream at me that you're not like my child, because I am so sick and tired of it, I can hardly see straight. None of us are the same. That is an illogical argument. Of course I'm not like your kid. That other nonverbal sitting right next to your kid is also not like your kid. This is humanity here. Every single one of us and the challenges that they face and how we have to face them is different. That's why cookie cutter diagnoses, cookie cutter treatment doesn't work. Let me uncomplicate it for you. I and people like me do not deserve to be tortured, starved, sleep deprived, deprived of affection, deprived of our human rights and our right to bodily autonomy to make neurotypical society feel better about themselves. Is that clear? Is that clear? Good. Filled with intrigue and questions about society and its ability to protect and support its most vulnerable citizens. If you hear the anger in my voice, good. I hope you do. Because it is an anger that is echoed by millions of us all around the world. When language such as behaviors is used to cover a multitude of atrocities, it is used to argue that we must be forced to comply. It has been used to rip our human rights away from us, rip our right to autonomy over our own bodies, to make decisions about our own health care, to make decisions on where we live, who we live with, who we are allowed to see, who we're allowed to socialize with it, food that we are allowed to eat. Yeah, language matters. We're going to close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, we're here at Spilling Tea. Hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.